Thanks for bearing with us while we got our slides. I promise it will be worth it. But also somewhat anticlimactic because buckle up, there's a few slides and then it's a lot of working together. So it's a long wait for slides, but just to be told, we're not going to look at slides and we're going to talk to each other. But welcome to our workshop, Charting Your Course, LearnUpon for Customer Education. I'm Frances, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, who's my co-facilitator, to introduce himself, and then I'll say a few more words about our customer education program at LearnUpon.
Excellent. Thanks, Frances. Jeff Resnick. So I've been at LearnUpon for a little over a year now, working in the customer success team. But I started my career in customer education for different SaaS companies. So I've worked for 10 years, leading different programs, building content from scratch, building academies from scratch, and standing them up time and time again, and understanding the pains and the real victories that come with that is kind of a thrill that brought me to LearnUpon and keeps me motivated every day to share all these great teachings and knowledge with everyone as well. And we also have,
Me?
Yeah. Frances, I think.
And then we also, you just heard from Caroline, our product keynote, but she's here as well as Laura from our product marketing team. And so we actually are all work together a lot on our customer education strategy. So we'll share a little bit about that. And then we're also really excited to hear what you guys are working on and how you're thinking about your customer education programs and both how our product can help and then also as we talk through our strategy. I was interested, and it's so great that Courtney really teed this up, so I don't have to spend 10 minutes telling you that customer education is a revenue driver. It just is. It just is. But I think it doesn't mean that most of our organizations understand that. Most of them probably do not. Most of them think of it as something else. A cost center, part of the support team. I thought it was really interesting that Ryan shared earlier, that it's a strategic decision that their customer education sits on the support side of things and not on the service side of things. So while customer education is a revenue driver, not usually in the ways where it's a direct correlation, so not selling content, but that it is contributing to the revenue of the business. But the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about in the last 9 months, and it was kind of this light bulb moment, I was actually sitting in an executive meeting when our engineering team was presenting their asks for headcount for the next year. And they said to deliver this on the roadmap, we need this headcount at this time, and then we can deliver these things at this velocity. And I wasn't paying super close attention because I had something I needed to present later. But the question that they were asked is, okay, you need this to deliver on the roadmap, but what are you delivering in terms of being able to scale? So yes, of course, there's increased headcount needed as the company grows, but also what are you doing as a team to make sure that your engineering team is doing things faster and more efficiently so that as you're growing headcount, you're also growing scale? And I thought about that first in relief of, I'm glad I'm not being asked that question but it's a great question of what is my customer success team doing to contribute to the scale of the business, and not just adding customer success managers and implementation consultants at the same rate year over year as we add customers. And then I started to really think about the scale piece and how customer education was critical to LearnUpon scaling as a business and critical to how our support team scales, how our customer success team scales, and then you start to see the cracks in things that you thought were really solid. When I thought we are so proud of our customer success team. They were the first hires in LearnUpon. We invest so much in the people that we hire and the experience that you have with customer success managers. But I started to think about what are customer success managers doing a lot of the time with our customers, and a lot of the time they're training them on product outside of implementation, and not in strategic ways. We have a new feature, let me make sure you know how to use it. And I thought that is not scale. We need to be able to use customer education to scale differently. So I like to think of customer education now, or I'm starting to think about it as this key piece of scale. And so customer education for us, that is our LearnUpon University that's built on LearnUpon. It's our customer community run by Doug, if you haven't met him. And so those live in my realm. as well as customer success and implementation. But then also what sits outside of it, which is the challenge of a lot of things that we're talking about today. Support sits on a different team within the same org, but different team, so not in my remit. Our knowledge base sits outside of that, so not within our community and LearnUpon University. Also, product marketing sits in another org. Internal enablement sits in another org. So a lot of the things that we're looking to do with our customer education, we are siloed, and LearnUpon is a small enough business. We all work in the same office, in our corporate office in Dublin. Like we're not siloed physically. We actually work a lot. Like we spend so much time together, but not in ways that we're like truly collaborating on customer education. So we'll start talking about those things. So I set that as a little bit of the stage for how you're thinking about your own programs. So was I supposed to do the poll or this one first?
You can do the poll first.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Oops. Yeah. I know, sorry. Maybe?
No, yeah, they scan.
Oh, there we go, okay. What's your focus for this year in customer education? Attracting, so attracting new business. Courtney spoke a little bit about this. Activating, that's the onboarding phase. Ryan spoke about this too. Engage, so what happens after your customers launch. Growing, we'll talk about this a little bit, or all of the above, or none of the above. Yes. Go for it. Oh, stunning. Okay, love all of the above. Interested that engage is here. This is, and I love this because I think this is always the case. If we did this time last year or 2 years ago, I don't think all of the above would have been there. I think the all of the above is a phenomenon of the last year where there's the pressure to do all. Yes. So I think that's a shift. I think engage, these two would have flipped last year where there was a huge focus on the onboarding, on the activation piece. But now I think there's a lot of eyes on what's happening with customers after they activate. So that absolutely resonates with me and the things that I am focused on as well.
I think it's also interesting. We have all of the above. Who's excited to do all of the above for the remainder of this year? Because that sounds like a tremendous undertaking that is it's a bit shocking.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So this is something that we started working on actually with a small group of our customers last summer to help us map out the customer lifecycle, and not the customer lifecycle as it relates to LearnUpon, so the customer lifecycle as it relates to the journey that your customers go on and where education plays a role in this. So activate, I think that's the easy one. I think there was so much buzz around that. That's just that's your time to value. How do you get your customers activated on your product? So how do you get them using it? Engage, and again, that was the one that everybody was focused on, of deepening those customer relationships. So that's really what happens after they launch. So how are you making sure that they're aware of new features, that they're adopting new features, that they're continuing to utilize the product, that they're continuing to grow their thought leadership, that they're continuing to adopt best practices. Then grow, this is my favorite because you can think about it as revenue. So certainly as your customers use more of your product, hopefully they are paying you more. But I like the advocacy piece of grow here and thinking about what does growth mean if your customers now are becoming advocates of your product, and maybe not even advocates in their writing reviews on sites, but I think about like Jen Hovestad, who spoke earlier, like this was something, right? She is so much in the growth space. Like what she has done with LearnUpon to grow her own results, to grow her own business results. She now is such an advocate for us to be able to talk about how she's using the product. So how can you take customers who are actively using your product and now turning them into advocates, both in making their own programs better, but also in evangelizing your product, but really ideally evangelizing their results. The one, and this one kills me that we don't spend more time on this as a company. This is really, you heard Courtney, this is HubSpot, right? This is the idea of what would it look like if customer education was bringing in qualified leads. And it's really exciting, but I think it feels the farthest away. Even like Laura sits like literally right behind me in our office in Dublin, but like this one feels the farthest away of how we join up customer education and marketing, of how would we use our customer education platform as a way to generate qualified leads. But it's the dream, like our biz dev team, our sales team, like what would it look like for them if we were able to send them qualified leads? So someone enrolled in and completed this course, call them immediately. That's a hot lead, that's a qualified lead. So this is a cycle that we've been building and thinking about what role does customer education play in that, and all of the above. Then what I would like to do is move to our interactive phase of things. Is anyone just unclear about any of the stages? Is there anything that feels a little fuzzy?
I'll just add on the attract phase, like we're looking at pre-sales there versus post-sales that customer education is typically tied to, right? And when we're looking at the pre-sales phase and you're looking at qualifying leads, that's something that's directly tying into revenue, right? You can report directly on that. Too often, I think we as customer education leaders say, well, I can't say for sure that somebody taking this course led them to expand, right? We don't take enough credit where credit is due, and we're not taking always the opportunities in order to say, hey, I contributed 100,000 to this target based off of these behaviors that we're seeing across the platform. So that attract phase doesn't only happen on the lead, on the prospect phase. That can also happen with a mature customer where you build a new product, you have new functionality, you have a new course, and that customer isn't using or doesn't have access to those features, but they show interest by taking a course on your platform. You then have a hot lead for your customer sales team to go after and to say, hey, this person is interested enough to take a 20-minute course and dive further in on this feature that they can't even use today. Let's make sure that they're enabled in the way that will support them.
So to build out then the customer journey, it requires a lot of different signals, and this is the challenging part of it. Now it requires signals that aren't just, as I don't want to even say simple, but onboarding can be simple. The signal is a customer signed a contract, and that can be the signal. You can put them into training. That's easy. You don't need to know very much about them, maybe nothing about them at all, maybe the product that they bought, but you don't really need a ton of other signals to activate your customers through customer education. So our workshop for today, you will get, we'll work through the 4 stages. We'll just pick 1 or 2 as you're working through this, so you don't have to do the entire map. And then also you're leaving here with an action plan, but we'll walk you through the steps. But before we do that, I know this is a nightmare, so if you hate getting into groups, I understand that. So just take a breath. We're gonna get into groups. It'll be fine, I promise, but I recognize it's not, so is anybody gonna be in my group? I promise we'll make sure that everybody has a group. So groups of 4, and where you can just find each other, and then we'll walk around and make sure that everybody has a group. So 3 or 4, and then we'll pass out worksheets. Yeah, you can move.
Feel free to flip around if you want to work with people behind you. Could be the easiest way to collaborate.
There you go.
Alrighty, here. Let's make sure we've got enough for everybody.
Yeah, sure.
I'll double back.
You're good. Once you guys are good. Oops, sorry. Oh, 3. Yeah, no, okay.
Can we come around, or is that?
Yeah, oh, please do.
Are we gonna stand up? So it's worth moving.
Yes, it is, yes.
We have to, can we get a picture?
No, one for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, before you start jumping into everything, I know I love all the conversation. This group over here put everyone to shame. They already have a team name and a team photo. Queens over here. So instead of diving into just, the scariest thing in the world is a blank piece of paper, especially with a bunch of blank boxes. So what my recommendation would be is pick one of the phases that as your group that you think is the most interesting or the one that is intriguing or you'd like to think about. My suggestion is maybe not do activate unless you haven't already done that. I think that's the one that we're most comfortable with. That's the one that is, it's the easiest. But if you don't feel like a challenge, it's perfectly fine to do that. Or if you're just getting started, if you're just getting started in customer education, activate is a perfectly acceptable place to start. So what you're thinking about is where are your strengths in that stage. So that could be your people, that could be your content, that could be your systems, that could be your data, that could be your product. What are you missing? So what tools are you missing in that stage to be able to manage customer education in that stage? What would great look like? I think about what great would look like. What would you want to be able to present on 2 slides if you were presenting at an executive meeting at the end of the quarter? Like, what would great look like? What would be the showstopper, jaws on the floor of this is what our customer education program delivered? And then what would those outcomes be? So we'll do 10 minutes and then regroup. All right, one more minute, finish up. Not everything, just bring your current conversation to a close and we'll check back in for a minute.
We visited our old Limerick House weekend when we were there.
Yes, you're good. No, you haven't failed. You haven't failed. All right, let's come back and share a few things. I'll do my old teacher trick.
Coming back together now.
I love all the conversations. I hate to, there's so much energy in the room. It's fantastic. But just wanted to make sure that we share some insights. I find that no one wants to talk about their strengths first, but we'll get to that. They're really important. But let's start with what are you missing? So just go around to a couple of groups and tell me the stage that you were thinking about and things that you're missing. We'll get to the strengths too, but people get more chatty when they're talking about all the things that they don't have. Let's see, this group over here, what stage were you guys working on? Okay, and what are you missing?
I think for us personally right now, where we're at is the customized use cases specific for our individual learning journeys. We've got a really good base level of knowledge, but because of restrictions and resources, we don't have the expanded knowledge.
Yep. So is it the content that you're missing, or is it the information about your learners to direct them in more personalized ways?
It's the specialized content, I think. So we've got a good base level, but we've not customized that to the individual level that we would probably expect in the best case scenario.
Yep. I think that's a huge blocker for Engage. And again, back to that onboarding piece. onboarding content, I don't want to say it's easy. Like, I think we're really proud of our onboarding content. I imagine most people in this room, you've spent a lot of time on your onboarding content, your Activate content, but it's generic. And it gets you through that first phase, but it doesn't take you any farther than that. And in order to, I was talking to this group over here of, I think and this is humbling, and I have to be humbled by it all the time, just because you have customers who went in and took content on a new product, or they were actively engaged in their onboarding content, you think you have them, like, just like they got hooked on a Netflix show. You don't have them. There's a million things that they could be doing other than learning about your product. And so that once you get out that sort of generic content, the stakes are so much higher about what content is actually going to be valuable to them. And you have to know a lot about them. Like, you have to know what matters to you, what matters to your job, what matters to how you use the product. And you need so much more data from other sources. In that, you need to know what they're doing in the product. You need to know what they're doing on the commercial side. You need to know what's happening in their business. It's a lot. It's a lot. Let's see. My superstar group over here, what stage were you guys working on, and what are you missing? Okay, stunning. And what are you missing? Okay.
Really acquired, are they really better? Are
Yes.
they improving? Is
Yes.
there stability in their acquisition of knowledge?
Yep. It's a. Yeah, sorry, I should have given the mic. So I'll let you repeat. Okay.
Okay. So we were talking about engage and specifically the what are you missing, and we were discussing that we were lacking follow-up on skill acquisition, whether or not somebody took the thing and then really got better or applied it differently or had better performance, and what is that measure? Because you could still get your salary. What does it cost, or what is it worth to be better at something? We are missing that kind of information. And so we were thinking about client follow-up. Is there somebody who follows up with people afterwards in your process? And we're not sure whether or not those are followed up because it's a different group.
I think, again, to the onboarding piece of onboarding is relatively easy to measure because you're not necessarily measuring skills, you're measuring the outcome. And the outcome usually that you've defined, that this is what launch looks like, this is what activation looks like in our product, so that's what you're measuring. And beyond that, we don't really have a framework to say the content that you're consuming is actually making you better users of our product, better at your job, buying more, better customer health. It is so missing data for sure.
Did anybody do the attract phase? Any groups?
Suzanne?
A little bit. We kind of struggled with it at first, but we realized attracting people to the learning is being done through our deployment department and by our remote training. And we've just kind of activated and done the onboarding piece. And now it's becoming more of a norm, and we're getting some stickiness in deployment because it makes their lives better. Yeah. So, but it's slow right now, but it's where we can improve.
And share what you guys do. I know.
What do you mean?
Oh, what does your company do?
Oh, automotive SaaS for dealerships, software as a service. Yeah. So I figured in this room you guys probably knew what that meant. But yeah, so we teach service departments how to use our software that goes service parts and collision, so all fixed operations. Not a terribly engaged group of users.
I don't know that any customer education audience is super engaged. Like they are, it's the humbling piece of it because you care so much about your content, you care so much about your product, and you think, why we've built this beautiful course, we've built this beautiful system, like why wouldn't anyone want to spend hours a day doing this? And they just don't. But to be fair, none of us do. Like that's, it's not, we all have a million other things to do, and we're not probably obsessed with our own vendors' customer education. Let's see, Ryan, your group, what phase were you talking about, and what were you missing?
This is the spokesman for our group.
Oh,
So our group had a great discussion over what does great look like for Engage. So I work for College Board, and I work with counselors and getting them educated on activating AP classes, all their courses. What great looks like would be being able for them to have an activity that they're working through as they're learning, and so they can turn that and use it in the next 10 minutes or the next day with a student. So having something useful right then and there that they can have, that is what great looks like. So just kind of continuing to work on those pieces so that it becomes a valuable experience for them.
So in that sort of learning in the flow of work that you have something, which I think we all understand how impactful that is, but it's a really difficult thing to think, how do you take this course and drop it in somebody's lap right at the moment that they need it? That's not going to pull them out of what they're working on and their other priorities. I like that we're transitioning to what does great look like. So I'll actually go back over here. No, they're great. No, they're great. Did you come up with anything of what great looks like?
Trying to get there.
Okay.
We're trying to get there.
But what was like if you were presenting to your executive team, what would, and you said like last quarter we
Revenue is, I would say, for us, financial consulting firm, we have like 3 different schools, which I was explaining to my group, and one is obviously internal, and then we have 2 external groups, one that we can't necessarily charge too much for, and would like to get more engagement and attraction. And the other, they want everything for free, but they're the ones we can bill. So getting a little bit more revenue up, more interest without cannibalizing our in-person educational offerings that we also have. Yeah. So that's what great would look like.
Yeah. More money. More money. Yeah. And more money without losing money somewhere else. Yeah. Excellent. Any other standouts that you guys came up with that were of what great looks like that you want to take with you? Because we're going to turn over to the next page. And yeah.
Asset marketing package. Get them excited about the training before it comes. Hey, coming in 2 weeks. Hey, coming in 2 days. You know, try to get them excited about it. What's in it for me? I always do that page in a course. What's in it for me? It's not that you're just going to make more money if you take this training. It's going to make your job easier, faster. Whatever it's going to do for them, you try to get that buy-in in the beginning. Yes.
And do you have?
Yes, I was going to look over at Laura and think, why are we not doing marketing around our new content? But right, who has the time? But that's it. Like it should feel like an event. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a notification? Just the idea is to do
It could be an email, it could be a splash page.
Sure.
When they go to the website, when they clock in and out on their, on my HR system, hey, coming soon. Yeah. Get excited about it.
And that's really where having those outcomes, right? Saying what the learning actually does, how it drives that behavior, how it drives that end result. Those are the metrics that you need to be sharing in that marketing campaign to say, this can be you, right? You will achieve this, as opposed to just saying, work better, work smarter, right? It needs something behind it.
But I would say I think it also reveals things that are missing. So like, again, Laura and I sit right next to each other in our office. Like there's no reason that we shouldn't be collaborating on things. Or what we do collaborate on is talking about how poorly our systems are integrated. No, but right, like to do that, to create a marketing campaign around your content would require a really tight integration with your LMS and your marketing systems. So we have an integration with Salesforce, we have an integration with our CXP, but we aren't tightly integrated with our marketing comms. And so, but that's what would be missing there. But using then our marketing tools to market our content to send people to the LMS. Okay, I want us to make sure that we have time for our last page because this is what you're taking back with you, so that A, you have a plan, and you can share with your organization, things that you're going to take away as a quick win, a bigger initiative, a stakeholder you need to involve. The stakeholder you need to involve, I love that Jen Hovestad said that, and Jeff and I are doing another session tomorrow about stakeholders, but L&D people, we do not collaborate enough. I think we're shy. I think we like sort of our basement. We like our silos. We don't collaborate enough with teams outside of our org, with revenue teams, with marketing teams, with our support teams. So I really liked what Jen said around her skills initiative, that she built a sort of, not an executive committee, but a committee of influencers in her company to drive skills. And I think that's a really important piece in customer education. So that's your stakeholder. And then first step you'll take next week. And that could be connecting with somebody from this room. That could be creating one new course or creating a marketing campaign for one course. So we'll give you a couple minutes to jot down some notes there. You have a full day, well, not quite a full day of conference tomorrow, so there's other things that you can add there, but take some time and think through what your next steps are. All right, let's come back together. I had a very meta moment over here. We were talking, and she was saying we had great support from implementation, and we really enjoy working with your customer success managers, but now we need to know what to do next, and we need a session to how do we use learning journeys? Should we transition to new e-commerce? But that's exactly that's the gap that we have, right? We got her through implementation, everything's fine there, but now there's this sort of, you've fallen off a cliff of there isn't anything to support you in that engage and grow stage about what's next, other than, right, in person, like the chances of us just having that conversation right now and you saying, this is what I need. But ideally we should have known that, right? Ideally, we should have had some signal to know this is what information or education you would need next, and like to keep moving you along. Yes, you're ready now, but it shouldn't take you coming to Chicago telling me that you're ready now.
But if you are, we'll have a spreadsheet.
I know. What's one thing you're going to do next week? Yeah.
Maybe not exactly right away next week, but sending an email just internally to the people at my company.
Yes.
Who are responsible for the more customer-facing stuff, to tell them which courses, I don't know if I should look at you.
Here, I'll give you the mic.
To tell them which courses are like updated and available, because instead of doing, I don't want to say spamming, but blasting customers with like, look at all these things we have. Like, we have salespeople that will send the course when it makes sense to send it. So just reminding the salespeople, like, hey, here's what's changed, here's what's new and available, and make sure that my internal teams are updated on what we have.
Yeah. We really struggle with that, and we haven't come up with a system, but the internal just information to get to our support team, to our implementation team, to our customer success team, so that they always know what's available in the community, what's available in the university, and in a way that they can easily access that. Because I forget too, like, they don't know what's there, what they could send people to. So yeah, I love that. Send a marketing email internally about what content is available. What else? One thing you're going to do next week? Oh, love, and Create Plus, this is going to sound like I'm selling you Create Plus, which I kind of am, but genuinely, this was game-changing for me. Take a recorded webinar, so take a Zoom recording of a training session, of an internal enablement session, and put that in Create Plus. It'll take 2 minutes. That was, to me, that completely changed the way I thought about how we could be creating content, and I thought this is the answer to not be sending people recorded Zoom sessions and calling it courses, because it's not.
Yeah, we were talking about marketing initiatives over here, and the idea of having these great marketing webinars, which are fantastic when they're delivered live and you have a group of people all sitting through that webinar and being able to engage with the presenters, fantastic, but being able to adapt that content in a way that's meant to be taken asynchronously, that's the piece that I think a lot of us have been missing in order to reuse that in the way that, and the format that it actually needs to be for learning to happen.
Yeah.
One thing that I'll add for myself that I'm taking a look at, of course, we use LearnUpon for educators that we teach, but taking an approach of our actual internal structure in education and training, like we think of it more external facing, I think there's a lot more opportunities internally for us.
I think that too, of the educating people on your product or your service, it's not just external, but it's internal, and ideally it's the same content and you're not creating it for multiple audiences. That's another thing that's interesting to try with Create Plus if you're trialing it, of you can tell it to create content for multiple audiences. So you can say, here's a Zoom recording of a feature demo, create a course for an internal sales audience, and create a course for an external customer audience. All right, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, myself probably, for having people late to the next session, and I see people walking in the hallway, but thank you for a ton of energy in the room. That was great. Oh, yay.
Thank you.